So if you've been on the internet for the past couple of months, I'm pretty sure you ended up hearing one word that everyone has been saying all over the place in multiple different communities, and that is LARPing. A completely new, never heard before concept where everyone is making fun of people inside these spaces who are not really true fans and are just there to attach themselves to the hobby to make as much money as possible or to gain clout. And if they're not making fun of them for that, it's because they're extremely annoying people who are ruining the community and just making it a terrible place for everything else. Now, I think this is very funny because this whole concept isn't new. It's something that people used to bring up a lot back then, and it's called gatekeeping. You know, the thing that everyone on the internet has been spending years saying that it's terrible and disgusting and we need to stop doing. That's basically just LARPing, and also calling people tourists as well. Now, if you're watching this, I hope you're familiar with the idea of gatekeeping, because I'm not going to explain it to you, so if you don't know what it is, that just sucks. I'm moving on. I love this concept. Not everyone should be able to enjoy a hobby or be inside of a community, and I hate saying that because it really makes you sound like the worst type of people to ever exist, and I'm telling you, I am not one of them. But this whole idea of everyone inside of communities being hyper accepted and just letting people in is very dumb and dangerous. Trash people exist in this world. I'm talking about those people who are very racist, bigoted, annoying fans who just constantly bring the environment down and make the reputation of the community worse, or people who spend their time doing harassment campaigns and all of those terrible things. So I always hate the idea that we need to let these people inside of their spaces if you're someone who ended up doing that in the past or even currently right now. And every time when you bring it up, you'll have everyone going, oh, but you know, people can change and we can reform them and blah, blah, blah. Brother, I lived my whole life and never once I was very racist, a bigot, or decided to harass and dox someone. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people watching this video did the exact same thing. So why in the world do we need to lower our standards and allow these trash people in spaces that we're around? What sense does that make? Plus, this whole concept of being hyper forgiving even to the worst people, it's just one whole part of white supremacy that I don't understand why no one brings up. And you know what? I did actually write a point of this script where I was going to explain that sentence, but for the sake of comedy, I am not, and I'm just going to move on and let that sentence marinate inside of your head, because I know it's going to fry the brain of 90% of people watching this. It'll probably fill some people with so much rage that they're going to leave and write this off automatically, so let me just move on from that. Even though I do believe gatekeeping is amazing, I completely understand how a lot of people on the internet ended up coming up with the wrong conclusion and saying that this is bad. But don't worry, I'm here. Good old Lua, you know, I'm going to put my hand on your shoulder and I'm going to teach you why you're wrong, and also how you came up with your wrong opinion. The proper way to gatekeep, in my opinion, is to protect the integrity of a community. A lot of places on the internet create this kind of vibe where everyone is allowed to feel safe and people who knows what's going on, well, they know ball. And it also needs to be formed in a way where it's very welcoming, where if someone who's not in the community, they should be able to come in, perfectly have an environment where they can assimilate inside. This is how spaces worked since the beginning of time. But people don't really like to say that because, again, kind of just like the last sentence I ended up saying a couple minutes ago, it just makes you sound really bad, and the worst people to ever exist online are the only people who are pushing this rhetoric. In a perfect world, this is how online communities should be. The gate should be open to everyone, but if you see someone acting up, or you know a content creator community that's already known for being bad is trying to come in, you kick them out or close the door. If you do this properly, you will solve most communities' problems before it even started. But unfortunately, gatekeeping is not used this way 99% of the time. Most of the time, people just use it to stop other people from enjoying something that you like, and that usually comes from a place of false superiority. A lot of people like the idea of enjoying a small thing that only a few people know about. You know, you gotta be one of the cool kids if you want to come inside of this club, so they just try their hardest to stop anyone from finding out a single thing that they enjoy. You see this with a bunch of newer, smaller communities all over the place, especially now with how terrible fandoms are. And look, I can understand these people. I'm a fan fan of a lot of smaller things, and it does make me feel special that, hey, I know what this is, or I understand this reference, and most of you people watching this wouldn't. But if you want your community to actually survive, you're going to need people. So this mindset is just going to cause the death of your community, which is a thing that I have witnessed multiple times. Plus, if you're someone who ended up being a victim of gatekeeping, it just doesn't feel right. You try to enter a community, have fun, and make a couple of new friends, and everyone is just very hostile to you. They want you to leave, but they don't have the balls to say it, so they just make the environment very toxic, and it just doesn't feel great. So this is why this concept has been demonized. But kind of like most of the time when the internet ended up doing something and realized that they ended up making a big mistake, they just delete history, make a brand new word, and pretend that this is the new thing and not the old thing that we dislike. My favorite example of this phenomenon happening is the whole digital and physical game argument. How everyone likes to pretend that for the past 10 years they weren't glazing digital games like it was the best thing to ever exist, saying that it was a future and physical media is inconvenient and the all digital future is going to be better. And everyone who tried to fight back against that and said we need physical media was told to shut up and you're old and you're dumb and all these other things. Just to be where we are right now, where physical media has completely took over everything. Everyone realized that you actually don't own a single item that you buy online and this future is trash. And now they're spamming quotes like, well, if buying a game isn't owning, then stealing isn't stealing, you know, all that corny crap and garbage that you see all over the place. Even though, again, they were glazing digital products for the past 10 years. But I guess that's something they weren't doing. The companies just gotta run over us, and it's not our fault at all. Man, that's tough. Which I guess isn't really that surprising. The average person in the world loved to bend over backward for billion-dollar companies, so I guess everyone acting like this is just normal to see. And that is definitely the reason why these new words are coming up. And it's definitely not because since Gen Alpha is the main demographic on the internet now, which I have no idea why so much people are delusional to that fact. I mean, I do know the reason why. When a lot of people build communities on the internet, they like to pretend that, oh, all my fan base are definitely people my age, and you know, it's not a bunch of younger people, even though younger people are historically the one with the majority of free time. So of course, if you have a big following, especially nowadays, it's mostly going to be people from Gen Alpha. I just think this is funny because with the new community feature, you have a bunch of YouTubers start their like community tab thing, and it's just a bunch of kids in there. It's the funniest thing of all time, and you get to see the YouTubers slowly not interact with their fan base because they have to realize the fact that, oh my lord, my community is just a daycare. But I guess I shouldn't be making fun of these people. I could easily be inside their camps. I see some of the comments you people left. I know some of you are fetuses. Let's move on from that. Look, since the majority of the people in this world are visual learners because most people just don't pay attention when someone is speaking to you, I guarantee a lot of you watching this video are on a second monitor barely knowing what's going on. Hey, stop doing that. You know, I spent a lot of time out of my day to actually make these videos interesting. I'll like if you actually look at it. Look, I'm using Blender. Is that cool? I made 2 characters do this. Are you watching now? So I'm here to explain to you what happens if you don't use gatekeeping properly and you let a bunch of toxic people come into your community and you get to see it slowly die. And the community that I'll be using for an example is a place where this ended up happening to recently, and that is the Uma Musume community. Step 1. The community is formed. It's a small niche place on the internet, usually because insert whatever reason why the thing you like is not popular. For the example that I'm going to use, Uma Musume, it's because it was not marketed or pushed outside of Japan, the country where it ended up beginning from. So people who ended up discovering it globally, it was because of the anime, or you're just one of those freaky people who spend the majority of your time in tiny anime spaces and you ended up discovering the IP. Although the community is small, it's still an amazing place. You don't have to deal with all of the drama and slop that infested most fandoms on the internet. No weird other drama, no one being racist, or weird people ruining the environment, no doxing or hate mobs, thus a bunch of people sitting down, talking and enjoying a piece of media. And sadly, we have reached a point on the internet where just a place being like that is so rare, so you want it to stay, but you also know that if you actually want the thing you enjoy to survive, it's going to need more people. At this point, you can only do one thing, and that is use the power of word of mouth. Step 2. Using word of mouth really translate to you going on your knees and begging that other people learn about your hobby. You can do this in multiple different ways, whether that's going to your friends and basically just begging them over and over again to interact with it, trying to make memes on the internet, hoping that one of them could pop off, because one popular meme can birth a all new franchise. Or if you're a content creator, you can sit down and make a 6-hour video talking about how this is the best piece of media to ever exist. And for the one person who ended up getting that reference, yes, I'm talking about this video that someone actually ended up making about Pantheon. I really thought I was the only person on the planet who ended up knowing this show exists. Watch Pantheon. It's really, really good. Now, a lot of communities will be trapped in step 2 forever, just constantly begging, hoping one day more people are going to enjoy this. But some communities are able to get lucky. They do something right, and their dream comes true. Step 3. It finally happened. This could be for multiple different reasons. A meme that ended up making it mainstream, a brand new release or season coming out, or just one YouTube video that a content creator ended up making just popped off. Whatever, you're here. You're filled with joy. You're happy to see people are finally enjoying something that you cared about for a very long time. Everything is going according to plan. This ended up happening for the Uma Musume community, where it ended up getting a big amount of fanfare because of this meme right here. An AI meme of one of the characters singing a rap song. When this ended up becoming popular, there were a lot of people inside of this community at the time that already knew this was a bad sign. I mean, look at the meme. This has the opportunity to attract literally some of the worst people of all time, okay? Extremely annoying radioactive fans. Plus, this is a gacha franchise, okay? We already have a high chance of attracting some terrible people. This ended up sending off every single red flag to ever exist. And there were people inside of the community trying to warn everyone about this, but the majority of the people just didn't listen. And I can understand why. They were trapped in delusion. They were just grateful that more people were actually enjoying this hobby and talking about it more. So they just pushed those people to the side and just pretend that it doesn't matter. They're just hating and they're gatekeeping. I mean, look, right around the corner, we ended up having another breakout meme that a lot of people ended up knowing. And it's this one right here with this character, a name that I'm not even going to try to announce. This was a meme that ended up becoming popular because of Twitter meme pages and also some TikToks reposting it. You know, Twitter meme pages. And a lot of anime fans from TikTok, even more red flags. And to make it even more worse, during this time, there were people inside the anime community started to make those garbage anime videos, you know, talking about the series in a slow monotone voice and making it sound like the most deepest, amazing piece of art to ever exist. Generic Anatube slop, even more red flags. Stuff was looking real bad. Now, if the community was actually smart, this will be a perfect time to activate gatekeeping. A lot of terrible people are approaching the hobby and trying to get inside of the community. We are not in the late stage of the complete death of the community, so there still is a chance to get these people out if you just gatekeep properly. But they didn't do that. They kept on letting people in. And this is a decision that the community ended up regretting in the long run. Because if you continue to fail to weed out terrible people, your community will enter stage 4. The community is slowly falling apart, and some people who are able to see that, they just decide to bounce and start forming their own subgroups inside of the community. Most of the time, this is a horrible sign because these groups are started for two reasons. One, it's a bunch of people who are not satisfied with how the fan base are going, so they make their own group, or it's just a group of very toxic people who create their own subgroup so they can continue being toxic because they most likely got kicked out of the broad community. Let's continue using Uma Musume for an example. A lot of the people who ended up forming the community, creating a lot of the memes, and even making cultural changes that you still see to this day, ended up leaving. Now this is very bad. This is basically the equivalent of getting rid of the bottom floor of a house. It's gonna cause the whole thing to collapse. A lot of people don't realize how important it is to have a core foundation in a lot of communities until it's gone. And when this ended up happening, you really only have two options, and that is to make a brand new culture, which that's not going to happen most of the time on the internet because most people who are coming in come from fandoms that are already cooked. So they're unable to make any new culture of themselves. If you want an example for this is basically the equivalent if every single black person decided to lock in and block their culture and stop letting other people steal from it, and they had to come up with their own stuff. Bro, most people, especially white people, they're just going to be completely cooked. They're not going to be able to make anything on their own if they're not stealing from black people. That's basically what happens in the community. If you were in this state, you were able to see the slow decline of this space real time. It was losing its identity and just becoming this generic glob of a space. No more uniqueness, no more beauty, just your average gotcha slop community. Once your community entered this stage, there is no saving it. Your community finally got the big break it has been waiting for. For Uma Musume, it ended up being the global release of the game. When it first got announced, it ended up creating a whole new hype cycle and a global community. Also, around this time, the anime just started popping off, mainly because of those terrible anime YouTubers and those Twitter memes ended up putting Uma Musume in the public. A lot of people did not realize how bad it is and how much damage these room temperature terrible fans ended up causing until the public Discord ended up launching. A lot of people from the original Uma Musume community ended up going into it to talk to some of their new fans, and they ended up realizing how terrible it was. I went in there. It was horrible. And when the game ended up launching, it just got significantly worse. A bunch of people in the gacha space ended up coming in. A bunch of weird right-wing political YouTubers who for some weird reason play video games. I just hate these people so much. I don't know why any community ended up accepting them in. All they do is try to push their terrible ideology down people's throat, and they actually don't care about art. Can we start kicking these people out? They are a literal plague to so much creative spaces. People in the community were panicking. They were seeing this hobby that they enjoy be destroyed right in front of them real time. Everything that they like just be genderfied and put inside the meat grinder to become generic mainstream slop. They tried to gatekeep, but it was too late. The damage has already been done. Your community is cooked. It's over. The last stage of this process, community S-word. I was going to say that word, when you ended up doing that thing where you don't really exist anymore, but I don't think I could say it. I'm not a YouTuber who has a lot of subscribers and clout, so I can't just break the rules and get away with it. I'll probably get blasted off the face of the planet. But it's basically that and community. It is over. Your community space has been destroyed and has become a normal generic fandom, which is where the Uma Musume community is right now. If you check any Uma Musume space, it's just your average gacha place. A lot of people are making the exact same jokes, and that's just generic anime jokes. They are no memes of the community that exists, and if there is one, it's most likely just going to be a character dancing, because when you have no culture, that's really all you can do. Character dancing to anything. You can't come up with anything more unique because you don't have it. It has to deal with your average generic culture war slop. People being racist, other people complaining why is the franchise not like this, and pushing ideologies and rhetoric which literally came from Epstein Island, which I wish I was joking. I knew for a fact that culture war was 100% fake. I was so happy when I ended up learning that both sides of the culture wars ended up spawning from that. You people really spend your time and got your ideology from this man. How does it feel to be that stupid? I mean, after recording this video, we literally had to deal with thousands of people inside the community getting mad because they ended up adding a black characters inside of the game. This was something where back then, at the original, of the Uma Musume community when it was smaller, no one cared about black characters being in the game. And even no one got mad at anyone cosplaying the characters and they were being black or doing black redraws. This was just a thing that happened and people just moved on because the community was normal. Now, since it's just your generic average fandom, it's a big deal in drama. It's just slop. It's crap. And there's really nothing you can do about it. The community has died. There's nothing unique. There's nothing interesting about it. And kind of like most communities, it's just going to be used as a tool that you could just put inside of your video so you can go and get views and be seen as cool. It's slop now. And that's all because they didn't gatekeep. I was able to witness this real time, and now I was able to tell you my experience of witnessing the death of a community. As of me editing this video ended up dropping, which became kind of big in the community, which is made from a failed gacha YouTuber who wasn't able to get any kind of success playing their last gacha game, so now they're moving to Uma Musume, which is like a whole category of content creators, which I think is hilarious. You can't make good gacha content somewhere else? Go to the Uma Musume community. Their standards are so low they'll eat any kind of slop. And guess what it is? It's an analog horror joke video on how to fight back against a horse girl when they're in heat. Because slop anime communities, all you can do is make unfunny memes or, haha hoo hoo sexual jokes. That's it. Pick your two. You can't make anything else. Or character dancing. Those are only 3 options. Man, this is so funny. How do people eat this trash up? It's actually just laughing at the same things over and over again. Anyway, that's it. This video is done. You can leave now. Go away. Leave.